Welcome to Between the Shelves, the premier Save a Library podcast. This week we are discussing the recent hit show on Apple TV, Widow's Bay. And to do that, I am joined by Peter from Adult Services and Kristina. Welcome.
Thank you.
Hello.
You're both from Adult Services.
Yeah.
I don't know why I always have to add that qualifier. It doesn't matter. So we're going to be talking about the show. It just finished up the first season. Season 2 just got a greenlit, so I'm excited about that. So we're going to talk about, our thoughts, our review, maybe get into a little bit of spoilers, and then we're going to wrap up the episode by sharing some recommendations for things to check out if you enjoyed Widow's Bay and you're looking for the next thing to either read or watch or play or what have you. I should start by saying this is our first episode we're recording in our new studio, the pod.
Yes.
Welcome, everyone. It's kind of eerie where the pod is just in the middle of the Adult Services floor, so we're just surrounded by glass, basically. It's kind of like we're in a fishbowl.
One of our regular patrons just was very joyful behind you that we were in here.
Oh, great. Well, at least I'm assuming him.
I don't know where he was.
It's very nice, though, everyone.
Yeah, it's very quiet.
Sound is blocked. It's a great place to study.
Yes. When we're not recording a podcast, which is most of the time, it can be used as a study room, so come and check it out anytime. All right, my preamble is done. Let's get into it. Widow's Bay. What are our thoughts on Widow's Bay? Just our overall thoughts, and then we can get into the nitty gritty.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Thought it was a great time.
I agree.
Well, you wouldn't be here if you were haters, I guess. I really, really liked it. I dragged my feet on watching it until I think my third or fourth person told me I need to watch it, and then I finally committed. And I'm glad I did. It struck that perfect balance of horror and comedy that is rare, I think. Yeah. When I was trying to come up with recommendations for this episode, I'm like, wow, there's really not as much horror comedy that lands as I thought. But this one, I think, strikes that chord brilliantly.
Yeah, definitely.
So a little bit about the show. It's written by Katie Dippold, I think is how you pronounce her name. She was a writer on Parks and Recreation. She also wrote the movie The Heat and the 2016 Ghostbusters film. So she has a comedy background. So I think that's apparent when you're watching the show. I mean, even though it is I would say horror first, maybe horror mystery sort of suspense first, and then comedy second, maybe. The comedy is there in its bones. I mean, every episode I'm laughing out loud. And most of the episodes are directed by, and I didn't realize this until I was about halfway through the show, Hiro Murai, I think is how you pronounce their name, who I know is the director of the show Atlanta, which I love.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. It kind of clicked for me when I realized, do you remember the episode of Atlanta that was like a horror one-off?
Teddy Perkins?
Yes. They sort of do like a haunted house episode that's kind of a one-off episode, and that feels the most like Widow's Bay, I think, of any other show out there, and maybe why they got the job for Widow's Bay. Really stellar cast. Just to highlight the major players, Matthew Rhys. I think it's Reese. Reese. I'm terrible with names today. Matthew Rhys plays Mayor Tom Loftus. He's the protagonist. He's the central character of the show. Stephen Root plays Wick. I should just hand it over the reins to Kristina today. Wick, yes. He is like a fisherman, sort of. He's like the
townie.
He's the townie. He knows all the conspiracies and the history and everything. And my favorite character is Patricia, who is played by Kate O'Flynn, who is Tom's assistant, Tom the mayor's assistant. She's a fantastic character.
Yeah, she's my favorite.
I'm sure we'll talk about her
Mine too.
more. And there's Sheriff Clemens, played by Kevin Carroll. Rosemary, who is the mayor's clerk, played by Dale Dickey, another hilarious character in the show. She gets most of the laughs, I would say. And the last one I want to highlight, because I'm sure we'll be talking about her, is Ruth Livingston is the name of the character, who ends up being a pivotal character in the arc of the series, But from the start of the season, I don't think she just has a couple of one-liners that you laugh at, and then kind of it builds. But those are the major players. I don't remember the name of the mayor's son, but he also plays a prominent role. Evan. I know. Yeah, I didn't know the actor's name.
Oh,
but
it's Kingston something.
yeah, I've seen him in other things too. He was very good too. Yeah. So what do we think? I thought the casting was really great.
Yeah, I mean, for me, that's one of the things that really made it, because some of my favorite actors are in it. And like when we get to the recommendations part, like you said, there's not a lot of similar horror comedies. So a lot of mine are other things that some of my favorite people in the show are also in.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen anything with Matthew Rhys, but Stephen Root is amazing in everything.
Yeah.
Barry. I was going to say Barry's the most recent thing I've seen with him, and he basically plays a very similar character, but he plays that character so well. I can't recall Katie O'Flynn in anything else who played Patricia. Was this her first? This is the first thing I've seen her in, but
she's British.
Wow, really?
Yeah,
I believe,
I wasn't.
Yeah, she's like really close friends with Jonathan Bailey.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot more of her because she's outstanding. I think definitely like the standout character from the show. So yeah, should we talk? I guess we haven't even talked about what the show's about yet. So does anyone want to take a crack at the plot, the overall plot?
Sure, I can. So it's a island called Widow's Bay off of Massachusetts. Who the mayor, the Matthew Rhys character, is trying to kind of make it like a Martha's Vineyard and attract a lot of tourists. But then particularly the Wick character is telling him about there's this conspiracy. You can't have people come here. People will die. The island's cursed, basically. So that's kind of the concept. And the mayor is saying that's crazy. We need to attract tourists. And of course, it turns out that it is, in fact, cursed.
Yeah. Lots of parallels with Jaws.
Yeah.
I think, the mayor who's trying to bring the tourism in and is being told time and time again, like, no, don't do that. It's a bad idea. And slowly comes to learn that everyone else is right and he's wrong. But there's so many homages to like other horror movies. Like every episode seems like it's an homage to other horror movies. It bounces around a lot. It doesn't stick with like the same exact tone episode to episode, which I really liked. So yeah, like Peter was saying, the series opens up with the mayor Tom inviting I think a New York Times travel writer, to the island, and he's kind of showing him around, and we're introduced quickly to the town historical society or museum, which becomes like a central location in the show. We keep revisiting it, but it is one of the funniest locations. The historian is so funny. I forget her name, but
really good PowerPoint presentation she gives.
I love, one of the jokes that stands out to me, like this is the type of joke they make all the time, is like Tom is constantly being undercut by the people around him. So he's trying to present to the reporter like, oh, this town, we have like the beaches, we have this, that, and the other thing, like the wilderness, like it's a peaceful, calm place. And he's saying, and then the reporter says like, well, I heard like reports that there was like cannibalism on the island or something. And he's like, oh no, that's totally fake. And then just looking like over his shoulder, there's a huge newspaper that's like framed on the wall that says like something like cannibalism, like run amok or something. It's just, or like the other thing the historian says is, he's trying to tell the reporter like, when the island was founded, they came and it was this beautiful, peaceful place that had never been touched by man. It was just an empty blank slate for them to start like a utopian island. And then the historian butts in. He's like, well, there was the teeth that they found. And he's just like, pat the teeth. Like, no. Anyways, it's just really, really funny. So, yeah, like I was saying, the episodes are each kind of take on, like, they're almost not quite standalone, but they do sort of have like their own feel to them. What were some of your favorite episodes that stood out to you? I have a personal favorite. I'm wondering if we have the same one.
I have a feeling we're all gonna agree.
Episode 4.
Which one is that? Is that the first Patricia
the cocktail
one?
party?
Yes.
Yeah, the beach reads, I think, is the name of the episode. Yeah, that one. I think that's the first episode Patricia gets the starring role.
Yeah.
Right. That's a really, really fun episode because it starts with her finding she's running like a
bookmobile?
bookmobile sort of
Yeah.
thing, and she's like sorting through the book donations and comes across what is it? It's like how to throw a party or how to be
It's how to become
confident.
popular
Yeah,
or
it's like
whatever.
just
How
a
to be
self-help.
popular,
Yeah.
And in the previous episodes, it had kind of been teed up that Patricia is sort of like a social outcast. You know, she has a past where she's been kind of bullied by the other women her age. So, yeah, that episode's really good. So it starts with her finding this book on like how to be popular, and then she decides she's going to be throwing a cocktail hour, basically, and she's panicking because no one's going to show up, and she's trying to put on this like elaborate party at like the one restaurant in town. And it turns out that the book is
Haunted. She very much channels Leslie Knope in the party planning aspects of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. That episode's so good because I did not see it coming. I was just, you're rooting for her.
Yeah.
And then, it just, by the time you realize what's going on in like a very, very well shot, cool scene, you were like, oh no. Now you realize it's too late.
Yeah. And even looking back, like on everything that had happened prior to when you find out what's going on, you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like when Rosemary was like, are you sure about the headpiece? And she's like, well, we all had qualms.
Yeah.
Why didn't anyone tell me? And like, we did.
And she's from our point of view, she's wearing, and I think hers, a little tiara. And then once the big reveal is her, she's wearing like
like antlers. Or
like some sort of like animal head sort of thing.
Yeah, there's so many. I watched a YouTube video on like things you missed in Widow's Bay or whatever, and they just go episode by episode pointing out like all the cool small details. And the show, you can just tell the show, it was just a labor of love because there's so much attention to detail and all the background sets. Like in that episode alone, there's a whole thing with like mirrors, and they start sowing that seed like early on, like don't look in the mirror, all this kind of stuff. And the way it's shot, if you like look at mirrors in the background, you can get hints that things are wrong because in the mirror world, things are you can see what's really going on. Just lots of really cool, subtle things like that. And the book itself like moves things around the room, like when the camera's moving, you just don't notice it your first watch. So it's like it's really there's a lot of attention to detail, and not just in that episode, but in other things. The Historical Society, if you look closely and all the photographs and paintings and things in the background,
it's foreshadowing.
It foreshadows the entire season.
Yeah.
Every episode is like its own painting on the wall. Like all the monsters and things that show up are all.
There are certain elements to that level of detail that this is not a show that I ultimately loved, but reminded me a little bit of Lost. Just how like complete the world was and these like little mysteries revealed throughout.
Yeah,
I have confidence that it'll they'll be a little more satisfying with the reveals than that show was, but especially towards the end with some of the reveals on the final episode.
I think Lost was a lesson for all writers to not get yourself stuck in that that situation again.
I don't
maybe.
I don't. You should ask the guys who wrote the Game of Thrones finale about that.
Not everyone learned the lesson.
I think they were relying on George R. R. Martin doing some of the lifting for them. But
yeah,
another fun episode was the second episode, which I think was released. I didn't watch them when they first started coming out, but it was episodes 1 and 2 released in the same day. The lodging episode, which is where Tom Loftus goes to the supposedly haunted hotel on the island, and to prove to all the islanders that it's not haunted, he decides to stay the night, and he has this like checklist of things that the islanders have told him to do, like, face a mirror and say a name 3 times, or like go to the basement and check out this thing, and he does all these things, and it just gets more and more absurd. And then that was a really cool episode. I liked the ending to that one. And speaking of special guests appearances, Tim Baltz plays a traveling salesman or something coming through who's staying at the lodge, and has a very very memorable role. I liked his character a lot too.
I think the episode's a good example too of how like the lighter tone can really set apart, like contrast the like actual scary moments, because it's like, especially at that point, nothing like that horrific had happened, and you know, not to give anything away, but it like you're unprepared for it when something like legitimately kind of scary happens.
There's something about like that New England setting, and it's just kind of like welcomes you in with like that kind of cozy setting. You know, it's historic, and like in that game and that episode, you know, they're having drinks, they're playing board games. It's just like this very cozy, warm environment, and it just gets you. That it kind of sets you up for when things change, and it just makes that sharp contrast even sharper.
Yeah,
but I think that works really, really well.
And that whole New England town thing too also gives it a real Stephen King vibe, which is a big part of the show. You know,
Definitely. Yeah. When we get to the recommendations, I think any Stephen King book basically would be a good follow up to Widow's Bay, and it's like that video I was mentioning. With all like the hidden things behind this, that you don't quite notice your first time. I mean, there's Stephen King books on like every bookshelf. It's in that box of like donations that she gives.
Even the font of Widow's Bay at the starting kind of looks like a vintage Stephen King cover.
Yeah, very. It definitely has that Stephen King vibe, and it's not just the set, like the New England coastal setting either. It just has that like. I don't know, like the character interactions, like everything about it just seems like it could have been written by Stephen King. Were there any other episodes that stood out to you?
I really liked the I don't know, I didn't write down what it was called, but the 1701 set episode, the flashback episode, that was actually quite scary in parts, and part of the reason I really love it is the Richard Warren, like the town founder, that actor, and his wife are two of my favorite actors. I love Betty Gilpin. She plays the wife. And Richard Warren is in Midnight Mass, which is one of the shows I was going to recommend for this one too. And they're both just great actors. And I thought it was so out of the blue that all of a sudden, almost for a whole episode, you're still in the town, but you're getting the backstory. And I thought it was really effective.
Yeah, I love when shows do like standalone episodes that just jump to a completely different place or time. That one was a really fun episode, and it was cool seeing how they tied it back into the present time later on without spoiling too much in a couple of different ways. But yeah, that was a cool, and it's like another example of how every episode is sort of its own. Not subgenre of horror, but like it's kind of like an homage to different horror films that obviously Katie Dippold was inspired by. This one was more like a folk horror sort of. And
then there's like the Boogeyman one is basically Halloween, or some slasher, and
that one was probably the funniest episode, I think, the Boogeyman episode. I was just laughing the whole time. Patricia's reactions to the situation is just like...
She's very genre savvy.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd never seen, like, again, Matthew Rhys in anything before, but I think he did a good job playing, like, the straight man for a lot of the jokes.
Yes.
He's not delivering any of the jokes, but, like, none of the jokes would work if he wasn't, like, this just inept kind of foible for all these characters. But yeah, that slasher episode with the Boogeyman, Patricia, she sells every single joke. She understood her assignment very well. It's just, you're watching this and you're like, yeah, of course, like if you were in this situation, this is how everyone would react.
Yeah.
Especially the end of the episode where, I don't know how much into spoiler territory we can get, but how she rides out
is holding a shotgun to a crematorium.
To the demise. And then right when they pull him out the ashes, she just nods her head and puts away the gun finally. It's like, yeah, of course. You've seen this guy get shot point blank range and stand up again. Like, of course.
Set on fire.
I love that. Let's get into spoiler territory now. We've gone enough in. So listeners, if you haven't seen Widow's Bay yet, I'll put a timestamp in here for when you can jump back into the episode to start listening again. But what did we think of the finale?
I thought I liked it.
I enjoyed it. I saw complaints about it online, actually, where a lot of people were upset that it was predictable.
Hmm.
In that, like, you could, based on the story they were telling, you knew how it was going to unfold, which I thought was a strange complaint.
Yeah, it's not
It's not a mystery.
It's not,
It's
not a mystery, but also the reason you knew it was predictable was because the writers set you up to know.
And also the whole show is about horror tropes, you know.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you didn't see it coming, then you probably weren't paying very close enough attention.
But
I guess we can say, since we're past spoilers, what the
yeah.
we're in the spoiler zone.
The whole part where we find out about like Ruth's rich home life, where Tom is just like, oh, she's really actually like a really active and pillar of the community. I thought she was just an annoying old lady.
Yeah, she's like that character that just the old lady who stayed in her job too long is not very good. That's all you've seen of her before, is that she's, you know, kind of flaky and not really passing along messages. And then, she has this like rich life where she's helping the community. And
Yeah, she's like, she volunteers to like help the elderly like get on and off their porches every single day, and he's just Matthew Rice is just like, stop talking, stop telling me this stuff.
We should say too that he's gone there to kill her because she's the last, he believes the last descendant of this cursed family that is what is cursing the island. So
I think knowing where the twist was coming only adds to the tension of those scenes, though. I don't think it ruined it by any means.
I don't think so either. Like on the Widow's Bay subreddit, there was a lot of arguments about who was going to be the last descendant of Richard Warren. And as far as I know, Ruth never came up.
I did
wasn't.
not.
Well, yes. She never came up as anyone who may have been even related. And then once it was revealed, and before we got the bigger reveal about her affair and secret child, everyone was like, how can she have a secret child? She's 93 years old. Like, how could she hide it for so long?
She's always been 93 years old.
Like, she had to have had a child when she was like in her 40s. It's like, well, people do that.
Yeah, I didn't see her being the descendant coming until it was revealed. And then once it was revealed and she's going, you know, talking with Tom Loftus and going into like her backstory, that's when I was a few steps ahead at that point, and I saw where it was going. But I loved watching it play out. It didn't ruin the experience at all for me. And knowing where the season 1 ends, now I'm even more intrigued for what they're going to do with season 2.
Yeah.
I did have one question, though, about the show, and maybe the two of you can answer this. Tom Loftus, was he born on the island?
No.
Okay.
He's a transplant.
His wife was.
Okay, that makes sense now, because I'm like, how does he not know about all of these curses and stuff?
You would think
he went there because of his wife.
Yeah.
Okay, so but
she's one of the descendants.
I knew
the secret.
he must have vacationed there or something.
That's what I'm
That's
saying. Like,
how
how
they
did
met.
he and his wife? Yeah,
Yeah, because people who aren't born there can leave.
Yeah.
Right. So that's again. So if you aren't, I guess, intending of watching the show, that's the whole premise. If we haven't gotten it at this point already,
I mean, that's in it from the beginning. So
yeah, that's true. Well, yeah, Wick spells that out pretty bluntly. Speaking of Wick and the conspiracy theory, I guess it's not a conspiracy really, theorist, but like the kooks on the island, the old kooks. I don't know the character's name or if he was ever named, but there's an old man that shows up in a few episodes who's like kind of like the lore dump, like doomsayer.
Oh, yeah, that just starts. Yeah, he's in the bunker and he just like bores people.
He's also
with his,
one of the funniest characters I think in the show. He's just like talking directly to the camera about like, this is what's going to happen, and everyone tunes him out because he's just such a bummer. It's so funny.
And also Chris Fleming's character, the shaman.
Oh yes, the drug dealer.
Yeah, he's a shaman.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, he was a funny character.
I love Chris Fleming.
What's his name? Casey, the innkeeper.
Yeah,
the owner of the innkeeper, Neil Casey. He's the actor. I forget what his character's name is. Kurt the innkeeper.
Yeah.
He was a very funny character. He's just always complaining about everything. He's just such a thorn in Mayor Tom Loftus's side. I loved his character, and just every time he shows up, he's just like you just want to strangle him. Like the mayor is just holding back.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
It's
going
such a
after
great
him.
cast. I really love Jeff Hiller, who's in it. I felt like he was underutilized
Yeah,
in
he
it
really
because
was.
Who is he?
He's one of the other people that works in the office.
He's sort of blondish.
Blondish.
He's the one
tall.
who watched the sacrifice.
who
videos.
saw the video first. Yeah, he's in Somebody Somewhere, another great show on HBO that is very different, but he's a great actor, and he's also he's really funny. So like I'm hoping that they do a lot more with him in the second season.
It's just a great ensemble. Like I don't know if they do an Emmy ensemble whatever award, but this one should definitely be a front runner.
I think
for
that's
it.
casting.
Okay. Well, Kat, give it the casting award.
Yeah.
Do we have any final thoughts on Widow's Bay, or should we get into our recommendations?
I'm ready for some recommendations.
Me too.
All right. So let's get into some recommendations now. I guess I'll start off since I have a few. We already mentioned Stephen King. Literally, I think you could pick any Stephen King book, and it would be...
I picked one specifically.
Okay, I did too. So I'll say mine.
Okay.
I picked Storm of the Century by Stephen King.
I mentioned it.
I mentioned it on this podcast several times. It's one of my favorites. It's set in a small coastal New England town. The storm of the century happens, and the whole town gets locked up basically in the town hall to ride out the storm. So if you liked the final 3 episodes basically of Widow's Bay, imagine that as just a full-length novel. It's just an expanded version of that. And the kind of twist is that right before the storm happens, a stranger comes into the town and some murders start happening, and maybe this stranger is otherworldly. I don't know. We don't really know. So anyways, it's kind of like a locked door, sort of you're trapped with the monster sort of thing. And it's just such a good story. I think it mirrors Widow's Bay in a lot of ways. And if you don't want to read it, it also was made into an ABC miniseries, which a few libraries have on DVD. So you can check it out that way as well. So that's my Stephen King recommendation, Storm of the Century. What was yours, Kristina?
Mine is Needful Things, which is about a guy who opens a shop in Castle Rock, Maine, and he deals in bargains. So he always has what you're looking for, but he has to trade you for something. And some of the things are at odds with other people in the town, and he just really riles up a lot of chaos in the town. And I picked it because it reminded me of what could be an episode in Widow's Bay. Like this shop could open in Widow's Bay and Tom would have to deal with it. But this was my first ever Stephen King book that I read when I was like 12. And it's like, I don't know, a doorstopper.
Yeah.
It's quite large.
It was in his doorstop era.
Yeah. And it has made such an impression on me my whole adult life.
12 years old is like, it's about when I started reading Stephen King too. And it's such
11,
an
12.
appropriate
Yeah.
age for that. Yeah, good recommendation. I'd never read that one actually. Maybe I'll
I
check
do
it
believe
out.
this one also has a movie as
I
well
think I've seen the movie
from the 90s.
I would say almost everything has been adapted at this point by Stephen King.
My Stephen King recommendation is more kind of like Kristina. That's my favorite, and I read it when I was young. It's not even really a horror novel, but I think there's so much Stephen King in the show that any Stephen King. It's actually Stephen King and Peter Straub. It's The Talisman, which is actually an epic fantasy, and it's a whole like parallel universe thing. So I won't get into the plot too much. It's a epic fantasy with a parallel universe, and there are, of course, like any Stephen King, like his vibe is so much like small town America. So there's definitely small town America in it, and it's just like unusual for him, but still really great.
Yeah. Good recommendations. I have a couple of movies to recommend. The first is The Fog, John Carpenter's. Is that his first movie? Or it's one of his
I
earlier
don't think it's his
movies.
first, but
Again, small coastal I think it's actually set in California, but it definitely has New England sort of vibes.
Yeah, lighthouse.
Yeah, it's all shot at night, so you can't really tell the difference anyways, but it definitely has that kind of feeling to it. And it's basically about this fog that sweeps into this town on the eve of their centennial, I think, and it brings along all these otherworldly horrors along with it. Not my favorite John Carpenter movie, but it definitely has like Widow's Bay parallels.
Definitely has a Widow's Bay vibe, yeah.
My other movie recommendation is The Witch by Roger Eggers. This is not a horror comedy. This is basically just straight horror, and it's a really good horror at that. So Roger Eggers also directed The Lighthouse, which I think could be another good recommendation if you liked Widow's Bay. It's a little funnier. But The Witch, it's set in New England. It's set in the 1600s, and it's about this Puritan family that's living kind of isolated from the rest of their village, and they believe that they are being stalked by some kind of evil presence in their woods, and they basically causes them to turn on one another and start to suspect that their eldest daughter is a witch, and hijinks ensue. Really, really, really fun horror movie. I really enjoyed it very much. It stars Anya Taylor-Joy, and Ralph Ineson is the father, who's excellent in it.
A very creepy goat.
And a very creepy goat. So those are my two movie recommendations. You said you had some TV shows?
Mm-hmm. So I sort of went off the idea that Widow's Bay is kind of a prestige TV version of a Monster of the Week show.
Mm-hmm. That's a good way to put it, yeah.
Yeah. So in the 2010s, I think the Sci-Fi Channel had a bunch of really good Monster of the Week shows, but one in particular, Haven, which is sort of also based on Stephen King, but not really. It's about an FBI agent sent to a small town, or I guess she kind of just winds up in a small town and ends up helping all of the residents deal with a curse that they have called the Troubles, which is like all kinds of supernatural issues. And she is assisted by a bunch of the locals, the sheriff. I don't know if there's a town character, but I know the wrestler Edge is in it for some reason. It was on for 5 years, and for me, I really liked the main character, Audrey. I thought she was really interesting, and the larger mystery arc was pretty interesting. But if you like Monster of the Week shows, I think
I watched that one too.
Haven is a good one. But also, at the same time, Sci-Fi had Warehouse 13, Eureka, and then a little later, Winona Earp, which has also a good like Monster of the Week with a lot of heart type of show.
Yeah, well, that one's good. I liked Winona Earp.
Have you checked to see if any of them are available on DVD from the libraries?
Yeah, they all are.
All of them?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Got a lot of watching to do. What do you got, Peter?
So like I mentioned before, a lot of my recommendations are more for other things you can see the great actors in. I mentioned a couple of them. Matthew Rhys, the mayor, I really like him as an actor. He's in a really, really one of the best series of all time, in my opinion, The Americans, where he plays a Russian spy. It's set in the 80s, and he and his wife, it's Kerry Russell, they're Russian operatives pretending to be American as spies. It's really well written, really great show. I mentioned Jeff Hiller. He's in Somebody Somewhere on HBO. I think it's on DVD. You can probably get just a really it's kind of a comedy dramedy where it's like set in a small town in Kansas where the main character is Bridget Everett, has moved back. Her sister has died. It's really beautiful show, but also a lot of comic elements in it. Hamish Linklater, the Richard Warren is in Midnight Mass, which is a really good. Actually, it's more straightforward horror, but it's kind of a vampire thing, but it's still a kind of a cursed town situation. That is one of my favorite recent horror series. And then Betty Gilpin, who I really love, she's in a couple of really great shows. Glow, where she's it's based on the real. Can't remember. So something like Glamorous Ladies of Wrestling or something from the 80s. And then Mrs. Davis, where she plays a nun, and that's kind of hard to encapsulate quickly because it's just a strange show. But she's just one of my favorite actors.
Is that the one where like Miss Davis, where she like goes to find God or like AI or something?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I
Mrs.
forgot
Davis.
about that show.
Yeah,
I gotta watch that.
She's really good. So.
Speaking of like the vampire thing, it made me think of another Stephen King recommendation, Salem's Lot. I think definitely has a lot of. I
almost said that one actually.
Again, it's like like the insular town with some sort of curse, and nobody wants to talk about it.
From my point of view, I can see one of the Stephen King shelves on the bottom, and Needful Things is there, and Salem's Lot is the most.
Oh wow!
Clear one, and I keep looking like Salem's Lot would be a good.
Yeah.
Wow.
I almost went with that and then decided to go with my favorite one instead, even though it was less appropriate.
Do we have any other recommendations?
I have another TV show.
What do you got?
So it's called Evil, and it's about a psychologist who teams up with a priest in training to explore the evil humanity is capable of. So they basically work for the church, and the church sends them out on like cases to figure out why something supernatural is happening, and just a lot of supernatural things that they encounter. It leans more towards, I think, the horror version, but there's a lot of like the characters' personal lives and their children and whatnot that kind of bring a little more light to it.
It seems similar to, I've seen some of the episodes where there's kind of like the skeptic.
Yeah, it's a skeptic.
And the, like the mayor who doesn't believe the supernatural thing, at least initially.
There's also like a tech whiz who helps them with technology.
Was this show set in like the 90s? Because that was such a 90s trope.
It's a pretty recent show.
Day,
I've just seen a handful of episodes of it.
Every show needs a techie person working in a van or back at the HQ.
Swirly equations floating.
A bunch of monitors. Cool. I have a video game recommendation, and I know, Kristina, you played this one. Dredge, which we mentioned a while back, which we now have available to check out from the library. So I think it's apropos to mention it again. It's a Lovecraftian horror fishing game in which you play a fisherman fishing off the coast of an island archipelago in a sort of, they don't really specify a place, but it has like a New England sort of vibe.
Yeah.
Or maybe you see things from a New England filter.
I see everything from a haunted New England filter. And it's a really cool indie game where there's like fishing mini games that's you do in between moments of existential horror. So basically, like as you're fishing and talking to the villagers on all the ports that you dock at, you start to uncover a little bit more of the mysteries around this island and the fog that keeps you from escaping the island, and a little bit of the backstory of one particular villager. I won't spoil it here if you want to play the game, but it's a really, really fun game. It's not like horror. You're not going to be afraid to pick up your controller. It's so scary. It's more just like a weird, like a creepy atmosphere with little moments here and there where you're like, oh, that was weird. Yeah. I don't know. I thought that that vibe definitely.
I forgot about Dredge, and I thought you were going to mention Alan Wake or Control.
Those actually would be even more appropriate, but I haven't played Alan Wake 2 yet, which I feel like is the most overlap with Widow's Bay, but I haven't played it yet, unfortunately. Definitely with like the weirdness too, like the balance of the horror and comedy. Yeah. So definitely check out Dredge, especially now that we have it to check out at the library. That's a very, very fun game. And it's, if you're not like a capital G gamer with all the whatever, you're worried about your skill level, it's a very placid game, I would say. You're basically just putting around on your boat.
It's a cozy fishing game.
It's a cozy game, yeah. That's all I got for my recommendations. Do we have any others?
Nope.
All right. Well, that's all of our recommendations. Peter, Kristina, thank you for joining me and discussing Widow's Bay. Go check it out. I'm sure it'll be out on DVD soon. And if you can't wait, it's on Apple TV to go watch now, or check out some of our recommendations to hold you over until it does come out on DVD. Thank you both for joining me, and listeners, we'll check you next time between the shelves.